Did you expect this week, though, to be hanging out at bars all week because the Cowboys weren't going to do anything? You're just going to maybe do your job next week. It surprised you a little bit?
They've done more, yeah.
No, that's what I'm saying. You were kind of thinking about, oh, hey, I'm going to take a week off and get these guys going in week 2, right?
I thought they would keep some of their own guys, and maybe it took a little bit longer on, like, Van Der Esch and maybe Cooper Rush or something. But and I was a little surprised that they got Donovan Wilson done. I thought, when you're at the combine and hear things like, ooh, that's going to take a lot of work to come together. But, that was actually the first one. So, I guess the fact that they made the first week move of trading for Stephon Gilmore, we had no idea that one was coming. That's been a welcome change of what we normally do the first week of free agency. But, next week, I think it's, everybody will get excited when they re-sign Jake McQuaid and Carlos Watkins. And who else am I missing here that they could possibly re-sign next week?
Hankins?
Hankins. He could be. I think he's on their list. Here's who I don't think is on the list. And you guys are probably going to want to hang up on me. Sorry, I don't think DeAndre Hopkins is coming here. Sorry, I don't think Odell Beckham Jr. is coming here. Like, I just don't see either one of those receivers, based on stuff I'm hearing, to be Cowboys. Things can change. We always know that, so I'm covering myself a little bit. But it would surprise me if either one of those two guys is a Cowboy. You're welcome.
So, Todd, hey, that's good information because obviously people text in about that constantly, asking about Hopkins, asking about OBJ. So do you think they are still wide receiver hunting, or are they just going to wait for the draft maybe?
I think they're look for wide receiver help. Now, there's really, in free agency, right, who do you go get and say, there you go, they clinched it. So I do think it'll be – yeah, there you go, he's available. They were in on Brandon Cooks on the trade deadline. Is that something that could be revisited here as the draft approaches, provided they can work with his money and get that down, and provided the Texans aren't asking for more than what the Cowboys want to give? Broadus, this was Jerry always says around the draft, a player's value is always at his lowest.
Right.
So, maybe the Cowboys can work out something with a guy like that. He would give him the speed, the over-the-top guy that I think that they're looking for. And again, none of this, if they got DeAndre Hopkins, I think that would be a really good move. I just don't think that they will. So enjoy your weekend without having to worry about them making a play for him.
All right, Todd, let me ask you a question. Do you think that – this is probably way unfair, but you know this team better than anybody.
Boy.
But, okay, if Dak Prescott – if you start to hear the whispers that Hopkins is here working out in the backyard – with the guys and stuff like that. He's here in Dallas hanging out. We've seen him with Dez Bryant, stuff like that. Does Dak have sway to maybe try and but ask them to do something like that?
Yeah, he's the quarterback of the Cowboys, right? I mean,
sure.
I'm not saying they picked Jalen Tolbert because of Dak. I don't think that's fair to say, but Dak was well aware of Jalen Tolbert before they selected him, so he was okay with that one. And I know everybody's going to say, oh, good, that means you don't want Dak anywhere near the draft process. I'll give Jalen Tolbert another season before we think that the kid can't do anything. I think the fact that he's already in the Dak yard, as you called it, is a good thing and working out. But, yeah, I think if he went and said, what do we have to do to get this guy, and this is the guy I really want, I'm not saying it would happen, but I bet you maybe some more work would be done on it to see if they could make it work. But, we can look at – this is where we look at salary cap room, right? We say the Cowboys got whatever you want to call it. What do we want to say they have left now? Like $14, $15 million or whatever it is.
It's accounted for, right, Todd? Isn't it already accounted for?
It's all accounted for with draft picks, injury settlements. The guys who go up and down on the practice squad into the regular season roster, all this stuff, incentives and escalators and deals that need to be accounted for at the end of the season. So the number might look bigger than what it really is. And we all just have to remember the Cowboys don't look at cap space the way that we look at cap space. Now, I'm not making the excuse for them because they can do whatever they want with the cap. We've seen Brian's favorite team in New Orleans manipulates the cap more than anybody and always finds himself $80 million over, and they're somehow able to get under because they restructure everybody. There are things the Cowboys can still do to get cap room if they want. It's a little bit more difficult, and it might not be what they would want to do effectively right now. But the cap is never really the only reason why they've not signed or gone after guys. So, but I always caution people when they say, well, they got $25 million. They can go do what they want to do. Not really, because you do have to account for all the other stuff that comes up as the year goes on.
Todd Archer with us here in the GBag Nation talking all things Cowboys. Dalton Schultz, any chance he returns now that the market seems like not all that robust?
Yeah, I've reached out to his guy and haven't heard back. I'm surprised that it's been as quiet as it's been, and I think a lot of the tight ends. What was Gesicki's deal today with the Patriots? That's a one-year deal as well, right?
Yeah.
So I think the tight end market has probably been impacted by how great or how the perception that this tight end class is so good that people are like, well, why would I pay $12 million for this guy when I can draft a guy in the second, third round? Might not be that much different than what I'm getting. So I think that's impacted. Should he be back? I mean, I guess I would say you never say never on it, but again, that would surprise me. But if you're looking at a repeat of what he got a one-year deal that is less than what he got last year on the tag, a little bit more than what he got on the tag, maybe it's possible. And maybe that's a guy that Dak says, hey, I really would like to have this guy around because of the relationship they have and the success they've had on the field. And if you can buy another year out of that position with Dalton Schultz and Ferguson and Hendershot, you're in a pretty good spot with your tight ends too.
Yeah, piggybacking off that, do you think this is a permanent goodbye to Ezekiel Elliott? I think it was Mike Florio that had the report of maybe he could come back to the Cowboys on a smaller deal, or is this, all right, both parties are moving on?
I think both parties are moving on. What's that? Zeke's counting against the cap now, like $6 million?
Yeah, dead money.
So let's say he comes back, so now he's going to count. Well, let's say they signed him to a $2 million deal.
Right.
Well, now he's counting $8 million against the cap. So you really didn't function. The process of moving on from him, you didn't really gain anything, in some respects. And if you're going to offer him $2 million, why didn't you just do it now? So they did not make an offer on a pay cut to him the way it was explained to me. I'm sure Bobby has probably told you that, you guys had as well. And it's the same thing they did with D Ware. It's the same thing they did with Dez. They didn't want to have to make these guys an offer that would insult them to then be pissed off at the organization and ruin what was a solid relationship in Zeke's case for 7 years. So, but it would surprise me if Zeke's back. The team that I think everybody is pointing to is Tampa Bay because Skip Pete's down there. They just got rid of Fournette. I know they have the other running back that was a rookie last year, but we all know you need two running backs. I do wonder if you're the Cowboys, is a veteran running back someone that you would look at now, or do you just draft the guy and pair that with Pollard and Malik Davis? My sense right now is the Cowboys would lean towards just drafting a running back and not adding a veteran runner, but I wouldn't rule out that possibility as the prices and numbers are coming way down in the next 2, 3, 4, 5 days.
Todd, this is one of my crazy questions. I want to ask you about Tyron Smith to unlock that riddle, but then something popped in my head too. Are you looking forward to do you miss the fact that Bill Polian doesn't do TV anymore so you can shut him up about your mock draft picks? And was it personal between you and Bill Polian when that happened?
No, it wasn't personal. I don't think it was. It was actually kind of fun.
You took him down 2 years in a row with your picks, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Although my picks the last 3 years haven't worked out, so
I don't remember those, Todd. Don't worry about those. Just worry about the ones that took down a Hall of Fame GM.
Right. The secret of these mock drafts, though, when you do these things, is to have the guy that you pick for the Cowboys to be gone before you select. So then you can't be wrong, right?
Right.
I mean,
right.
You would have nailed their pick. And
it's a pin throw. Darn, yeah.
Right. Like, if one other guy would have got right was Byron Jones in 2015.
Yeah.
Because they would have but in the mock draft, our Steeler guy took him somehow when there's no way he was going to go to the Steelers. And I had to take, it might have been Michael Kendricks or something like that.
That'd been a good pick, Todd.
Those guys are the same. That would have been a good pick, but man, when did he go in like middle second round? So I was a little ahead of my time.
Man, you're good. You're good. See, that's the thing. I love when you took Polian down all the time. He'd bust on, oh, there's no way they would do that, And then sure enough, they would.
He's got a gold jacket. I don't even have gold pins on my jacket.
Yeah. Okay. I'll now ask you the Tyron Smith question. Unlock the mystery of Tyron Smith for our Cowboy listeners out there.
What's the mystery?
The mystery is, what are they going to do with him? Is he going to start at left tackle?
Shoot.
What is he going to do?
Yeah, I wrote about this the other day. I think the answer is all of the above, right? I think it's how his return gives them options that they wouldn't have had otherwise. He could reclaim the left tackle spot and move Tyler Smith to left guard, because let's look at it. They don't have a left guard right now, right? I mean, obviously they could draft one and things could change there, but that's now a possibility. He could play right tackle if Terrence Steele is slow to come back from the ACL, as much as Stephen Jones told us at the Combine that he's ahead of schedule. I realize they're different positions, but we saw how long it took Michael Gallup to come back from an ACL injury and to feel comfortable, if he ever felt comfortable. So he could be the right tackle. You give him an off season of work. Hey, that's a right tackle. That's a good thing for Tyron Smith. I don't know if he ever looked completely comfortable on that right side, playing it for the first time since 2011. And then the other option is he's the swing tackle. Hey, that's pretty good as well, because you got Tyron Smith there. If something were to happen to Tyler Smith or something were to happen to Terrence Steele, and you got the contract in such a way that that is a favorable thing for the Cowboys. So I think all of the options are on the table. My feeling right now is Mike Solari's in a good spot. Play your best five. I know, when I mentioned that to McCarthy his first year about, hey, why wouldn't you move Zach Martin to right tackle? And he told me I'm playing fantasy football.
Exactly.
I don't know. I try to think, if you're playing your best five guys, figure it out. It wasn't like it was such a groundbreaking statement from me, because everybody always tries to say, hey, get your best players on the field. If Tyron Smith is one of the best five offensive linemen, figure it out and get him out there.
Well, and to your point, Todd, they certainly shuffled quite a bit last year. So they might have been doing some fantasy football a year ago. It's Todd Archer, ESPN, with us here on 105.3 The Fan. How surprised were you with the Gilmore trade? It didn't seem like anybody saw that coming.
Yeah. Brian's buddy, Mike Lombardi, tweeted it. Hey, it sounds like the Cowboys are making a trade. I'm like, oh, okay, well, if Lombardi says it, I'm sure Broadus fed in that info, so let me go see if I can.
No, I would tell you first.
And I asked around, and it's like, as far as I know, nothing. And then literally 2 minutes later, boom, the deal gets pulled off. So that was kind of a surprise, that, and to even some people at the Star, that thing went down as quickly as it did. But, as much as everybody killed the Cowboys for only getting a fifth-round pick back for Amari Cooper, you giving up pick 176 for Stephon Gilmore? Yeah. That's a heck of a trade right there, too.
That's a good trade.
So I'm not absolving them of the Amari thing by saying that, but this is a good makeup if you want to look at it that way, because as he said yesterday on the conference call with us, they got to throw it somewhere. And if you have Diggs and him out there, those are – I mentioned this in the story I wrote. When's the last time they had two corners like this?
Yeah.
And my initial reaction was going back to Anthony Henry and Terrence Newman when Broadus might have been working with the franchise.
Yep. Sure was.
Botching drafts.
Messing up drafts, of course, yeah.
Nick even mentioned the year Newman and Mike Jenkins made the Pro Bowl. So I think that was 2009. Had to give him that season was probably the best, but Jenkins wasn't heard of before then or after then. So that's why I stuck with Anthony Henry and Tinu, because this again, am I missing another pairing that was as good, that should be as good as these two guys? And then Donovan Wilson back with those safeties. We know what Dan Quinn wants to do. They could be the first team since the 72 through 74 Steelers to lead the league in takeaways 3 straight years. So the Cowboys are a defensive team now in a lot of respects.
Okay, in the last couple minutes we got with you, Todd, tell me about your crystal ball look at Mike McCarthy, play caller.
That's a good one. Why'd you? Man, thanks, Broadus.
Take your time. Take your time.
Save space.
We could go into Wolchuk's segment next time. Don't worry about it, man. Just do what
he's got. His history tells you that it's good, right? Because you look at it. Don't look at the end of his time in Green Bay. Look at the whole bulk of work that he did starting with Favre and through Rodgers for the bulk of that time, with the receivers that he had in the offensive line. He knows what he's doing, clearly. It didn't end well for him up in Green Bay, but this is a little different dynamic because it's still not his offense and his language to a lot of ways when you're looking at it. So, I'm curious to see how he handles everything and how much Schottenheimer is going to be involved during the week and during the games and the process here. I'll go. The one optimism, the optimistic thing that I have about it is when he took over, Favre led the league in picks, and he cut Favre's interceptions in half the next year. Aaron Rodgers, we know, never really threw interceptions. So he has a background of quarterbacks that don't make mistakes. That has to be something related to his scheme and his system and how he calls plays and how the field is read by the quarterback. So I think that'll be a benefit to Dak. But again, Dak hasn't, before last year, interceptions weren't an issue for Dak. But I do think having McCarthy in his ear will help him, I think, with his decision-making and maybe shutting off half the field and saying, this is my right foot's down, the ball comes out, and here's where it goes on this coverage, as opposed to reading the whole field and then going to certain spots.
Todd, it's always awesome.
I just talked my way out of that circle.
No, you did it. You nailed it. You nailed it.
Dear God, you nailed that.
Always great getting to catch up with you. Enjoy the weekend. Happy St. Patty's Day. Go get yourself a cold one. We'll catch up with you again soon.
Will do. Thanks, fellas.